Hey there everybody, Kyle Sasser here, and it's everybody's favorite time of the month. That's right, real estate market statistics time. These real estate market statistics are for Hillsborough County for August 2025. Now, you're welcome to download a copy of these statistics and follow along, and you'll notice on those stats that it says July 2025. Why is that whenever you're watching this in August? Well, typically we look at real estate statistics by the month and we compare year over year. So we are comparing July 2025 because that is the most recent complete month, and we're comparing that to July 2024. The reason we don't compare month to month is because there's a natural ebb and flow of the real estate cycle throughout the year. Typically, whenever school is starting or wintertime is upon us, things move at slightly different paces and numbers than they do in the summertime or springtime. So we compare year over year, July 2025 versus July 2024, and that gives us a pretty good gauge of what's going on with the market. So if you would like your own copy of these numbers, you can get that at the link down in the description below. Just click there. There will be a link to download this in a beautiful PDF report. And let's dive into these market statistics for Hillsborough County for August 2025. Total number of closed sales was down 9.1% to 1,309 homes. That's down from 1,440 homes in July 2024. Cash sales was down 16% to 241 homes. Median sales price held steady, increase of 0.1 from $430,000 to $430,435. Average sales price went up 0.3% to $546,172 to $547,950. Price decreased again compared to July 2024. Went from 97% to 95.8%, and median time to contract increased 45.8% from 24 days to 35 days. Now, here's what you need to know about that number, 35 days. We're not really doing a lot of price decreases in that time period. You get too stressed if it takes a month. Stress for sellers to be willing to reduce prices drastically. I know that, we have that median percent of original list price at 95.8%, and you're like, well, Kyle, doesn't that mean that prices are crashing? No, it means that the original asking price was too high. The median sales price is the important part there, and the time to contract. Both of those are tied together. Total number of new listings was down 8.9%, so we actually listed fewer houses in July 2025. That dropped from 1,866 homes to 1,700 homes. And active inventory was up 20.5% from 4,086 to 4,922. Foreclosures and short sales, foreclosures were down 60%. There was a total of 2. Short sales dropped 100% to 0. So still not a lot of activity in short sale and foreclosure land. Now, obvious question is active inventory growing? Now, you're probably like, Kyle, how do we have inventory nearly 5 times what we had a few years ago? How can we have 5 times the inventory, but median sales price still is not going down? And the answer is there is enough people paying enough money for houses that median sales price has not dropped because sellers are not feeling overly stressed to sell their house within 35 days. I'll cover that a little bit more in the analysis section because there's a couple other little details in there. But generally speaking, things are holding very steady in Hillsborough County, and they have for over a year now at this point. If we look at the median sales price here on this lovely page, basically median sales price has bounced between $415 a little bit, but really $420 to $430, $445, at least since last year. Really, if you go back further, 2023, it's basically been within this kind of $10,000, $15,000 price band for a year and a half, 2 years now. Now, I do like to go over some of the different price points because $1 million house is going to sell in a slightly different time frame than a $400,000 house, and that's primarily just because there's more buyers that are able to purchase $400,000 houses. Sales are down across all price points, with the exception of $200 to $250, but that's only up by 5%, which is kind of when there's only 38 of them, that's kind of within not really a margin of error, but that's not a big enough shift to really make note of. Under $200,000, there's still very few houses. There's a total of maybe 25 houses under $200,000 that sold in July. $250 to $300,000 was down 5.7%. 7% to 38. 300 to 400,000 was down 7.8% to 404. Demand is a little softer than it had been, which is a little surprising. Could be because of school letting out, could be because some of the storms we had coming through, could be, you know, just some of the economic and other items that are going on. You know, maybe people just aren't looking in Hillsborough County as hard as they were last year. Median time to contract is also up across all price points. So 200 to 250,000 is up 153.8% to 33. 250 to 300,000 is up 36% to 34. 300 to 400,000 is up 45.8% to 35. Now, here's the thing. That sounds terrible. 35 days is still seller market to slightly neutral. So don't chicken little at the real estate market yet. Total number of new listings by price. And I'll show you this chart just because these, I don't know, I kind of wish that the National Association of Realtors would kind of change their reports, because honestly, having 50 to 100,000 and 100 to 150 price categories isn't terribly helpful anymore. You know, everything's really bunched up here on the higher side. I do feel like we're going to have to move our categories around a little bit, but total number of new listings, everything is held pretty much the same, or is, I would say there's more, with the exception of 300 to 400,000 was down 26% to 430 new listings. 250 to 300,000 was up 40% to 105. 400 to 600 was down 3.3%, which is, I mean, you know, and that kind of gets lost in the cushions. 625 homes. So definitely more of the lower price point homes have been listed, which is great because, you know, we have had a bit of a shortage of those the last few years. However, the catch is many of the inventory by current price, everything is up across the board. Current price, everything is up across the board. This might be the highest percentage I've ever said on one of these videos. 100 to 150,000 total inventory. Available houses for sale at the end of July was out for a total of 12. And I don't even know if my system can display that number of property, the inset here. So it'll be funny to see that. Basically, there's more of every price available to choose from. So 300 to 400,000, there is 1,130 homes. That's an increase of 13.2%. 250 to 300,000 is up 46.9% to 210 homes. 400 to 600,000 is up to 1,804 homes, an increase of 20%. So more homes to choose from. And that is the Hillsborough County real estate statistics numbers for August 2025. Now, for those of you that remember your entry-level math classes, average, mean, median, and mode. So I don't really use mode when it comes to real estate statistics, but we use mean or average and median. And average, as you know, is you take, let's say, 5 houses, you add up the price of those houses and you divide by 5. That gives you the average sales price. Median is a little bit different though. With the median sales price, you take, let's say, 100 houses, and the median is the point at which there is an equal number of homes sold at a higher price as at a lesser price. So it's more of the true midpoint of the market, and I generally lean more towards the median sales price than the average sales price, because average sales price does tend to get pulled around a little bit. If a very expensive house sells, so let's say something in the $5 to $10 million range, that does tend to pull the average sales price up more than it does on the median sales price. So I pay a little bit more attention to the median sales price. So what can we make of these numbers? Well, we had fewer sales. Median sales prices hung out steady, but does look to be a softening market. Inventory has definitely come up, 4,900 total homes for sale, and more homes for sale in every price category from, you know, 50,000 all the way up to 1 million plus. But the reason the prices can hang at 430 despite inventory being higher is sellers are still not overly stressed to lower the price of their homes below the median sales price that it sold for. Now, is there a very large backlog of inventory? Yes. And so what you have is kind of, think of it as like a 5-gallon bucket with holes drilled in the bottom of the bucket, right? So the number of closed sales is the holes in the bucket, and new listings is how much water is being poured into the bucket. And depending upon how that flow goes through that bucket, obviously our total inventory is building, but it's not enough to the point where people are starting to, or, you know, having to bail water out or drill more holes. Like, there's not panic at this point. And honestly, things would really need to be hanging around on the market significantly longer. Yes, I know there's a lot of anecdotal evidence out there, price reductions on Zillow and Realtor.com. The catch with the statistics are these stats are only for houses that sell. And so you do have a significant number of homes that are expiring and not selling. So those never show up in these numbers other than total inventory before they expired or are canceled. And, you know, a variety of things are happening with those. Sometimes they get put up for lease. Sometimes the people just stay put. Sometimes they take them down for a few months and then list them a few months later. The problem is people tend to put offers in on homes that are either just absolute steals, which are rare, or what happens more frequently is people buy the best home that they can find. And so what's happening is there's enough good homes that are going up for sale that it's keeping pace with the number of people that are buying homes. It's not too many homes that prices come down, and it is not so many people buying that prices start going up again. Hillsborough County, again, has held within that $10,000 to $15,000 price band for 18 months at this point. So until something cuts loose, either on the supply side or the demand side, this has been the story for the last 8 months. This is what I've been talking about with Hillsborough County for the last 9 to 12 months. And so far as I can tell here, we had a little uptick in median time to contract, but the houses that are selling they have not really been on the market for that long. Now, if every house that's on the market decides to cut their price by $30,000, then different story. But real estate is a very human decision, and a lot of human decision making goes into, how to price houses, when to do price reductions and all that stuff. And so again, that's why I like the bucket analogy, because there's always a little bit of water going out to greater and lesser degrees, and there's always some water going in with new listings to greater and lesser degrees, and the balance of all that stuff is where home prices end up. So I'm trying to make it very simple and understandable. People get lost a lot in the weeds, so far as, well, what about Airbnbs? And so what about hedge funds? And so what about insurance, blah, blah. And basically, how many sales are there? What's the price of those sales? How many new listings? How much total inventory? Those are really the main interplay of factors when it comes to the real estate market. So Hillsborough County, basically holding steady still. And if it seems like I'm trying to pad out my YouTube minutes here, definitely am. So thank you so much for watching these Pinellas County stats. My name is Kyle Sasser. If you're looking for your own amazing home in the Tampa Bay area, I would love to help you out. You can reach me at 727-300-2111. And I also have a link to my calendar in the description down below. You can book a chat at the time that works best for you down there. If you have any questions or comments, you can also leave that in the description down below. If you want to see where I split the market like that, and you can see the difference between the flood damaged homes and the non-flood damaged mainlands, leave me a comment. I'll be happy to do it. I just need to know that it would be useful to actually see it. But again, love to help you find your own home in the area. It's nice. The positive comments that I get on these videos definitely help me to sit down here and make them every month. So thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Kyle Sasser, and I'll talk to you soon.